All right. Okay, so when people think of science, technology, engineering, and math, uh, we immediately think about bookworms or the terms nerd. Now I don't know about other races, but I know that a lot of young black people tend to think that you have to choose between being smart and being culturally relevant or being fly, so to speak. At least it was like that when I was in school. Some people thought that trying hard in school was lame. I didn't get that. So, do we not see enough people like yourself who understand that you can still hit the books and make a career for yourself as well as being culturally relevant?
The best thing that could have happened to corporate America was the authenticity movement, because once, I hate to say this, but once we actually felt like we had permission to be ourselves, then you started to see what was already there. I have a very quick story, and this is really what catapulted me into public speaking for real, for real. And this is really what changed my viewpoint on what advocacy was. I did, and I tell the story all the time, but I did a panel in DC, youngest person on the panel. And if anybody's in the DC area, sometimes when you're doing things in DC, you got to dress for the day. Let's just call a thing a thing. So I had a benefit to go to that night, but I wasn't going to drive all the way back to Northern Virginia and drive back. So I dressed for the day. So not only was I the youngest person on the panel, I'm not even gonna lie, y'all, I came in there with Gucci and Prada on because that's the event I was going to later. I normally didn't wear that to panels because I just didn't. But, I had, like I said, Gucci and Prada and hair done and all this stuff because of the benefit. So I did the panel discussion, getting ready to leave. And the teacher came up. She's like, hey, the students really, really, really just want to ask you a couple more questions. And I'm like, well, I got to go to this thing, but sure. So they're like, okay, we're going to open it up for questions. And I felt so bad because it was like a panel of 5 and all the kids just rush over to me. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, either I said something real off the wall or I was a horrible panelist and they are confused. And it started, and one of the young girls, she got up and she said, I'll never forget it. She was like, who are you married to? Now, mind you, I'm single. And I'm like, who am I married to? She's like, yes, who are you married to? Because you got on Gucci and Prada and all this stuff, and we ain't never seen nobody come in here like that. So I'm assuming you like which NFL player is your husband? And I was like, oh, wow. Wow. Right? And before I could even, I think I'm not married out. And before I could finish, another girl was like, you know what? She not married because, boys don't really like smart girls. So duh, it makes sense. And I was like, wow. And I didn't take offense, but I said, I am needed because for some reason they have only been able to see this certain type of person living a certain type of lifestyle. And I'm sorry if y'all watch the Housewives series, this is no disrespect, but that sometimes is the downside of that. There are actually people that say that's the only way I can have these things. So in their mind, they determine if I want these things, I have to do this. If I want this lifestyle, this is the only way. So I came in there and kind of shattered all of that. And that's when I said, okay, not only am I going to show up as my authentic self, it's no longer a luxury, right? This is people's lives. Like, this is me saying, no, sis, you can be exactly who you are. You can be smart, you can be intelligent, and you can still like Gucci and Prada and all of those other wonderful things. You can do this for yourself. It is cool. Do not worry about what boys are saying they like or they don't like in middle and high school. So it really changed my viewpoint on how susceptible, I guess, they were to what they saw on media, on TV, all around them. So I was like, okay, I remember getting in the car and I was like, okay, I'm going to speak on every panel I'm invited to. I am going to always use my voice to make sure that it is adequately represented on what engineering is. And I love the term. I get it. You can't be what you can't see. it's on every bumper sticker, but that is a limiting belief that we're going to have to start explaining, because it's a little bit deeper than just seeing a whole bunch of Black women on a panel or a whole bunch of Black men on the panel. If you don't see yourself in any of those people, you still don't see yourself. So mind you, those girls had seen Black women before, but they didn't want to do anything those Black women were doing because they were like, this is not cool to me, or this is not who I want to be, or this is not, for lack of a better phrase, sexy, right? But when I came in there a little bit younger myself, I may have, like I said, engaged them for the wrong reason, but at least I opened their mind to another possibility. And hopefully, like what happened in my story with my mom, you say for the right reason. You know, you say, okay, let me look at this engineering stuff because I want to buy all this stuff for myself. Let me look into it. And then you get in there and you realize the possibility, the influence, the power, and you stay. But if I got to wear Gucci and Prada and all this on a panel just to get you to understand that we're all different, and that's what diversity of thought really is, how can you really sit up here and say you're bringing your best self to work when you're assimilated and trying to be, look, and sound like everybody else, right? And that's what was unfortunately happening on those panels. We have been so accustomed to assimilating at work when we were outside of work, and now talking to the youth, we weren't turning that off. So you were getting this almost cookie cutter robotic person on every single panel all over the world, everybody sounding alike, looking alike. And people are like, I don't want to do this. So I challenge people, and I'm so glad that we're now like literally bringing our authentic selves to work. I will say I probably was doing it before it was cool, and I'm so glad I never got fired. But
Trendsetter.
I really took it serious because to me, that was how we were going to attract people to engineering, right? You attract people by being yourself. When I do panels, I always tell organizations, do not put 5 of me's on a panel. That's too much for somebody. Put different personalities, different people. That cookie cutter engineer that I talked about, that's not a bad thing. Put him or her on the panel too. They're going to relate to somebody, right? They're going to relate to somebody. And that is how you attract people. When they see what they want to be or who they are in someone, then they sit up and pay attention and say, okay, let me look into this. So it behooves us to not only bring our true selves to work because it actually makes us mentally happy, it also helps other people. Now, let me look in that because I'm extroverted like her. Let me look into it. But like I said, don't only look at me because I am too much for some people as well. And that's okay. But when you don't bring your full self to everything you do, you now put those that are attracted to what you're doing and who you are. Now you have them at a disservice because now they don't see anything accurately represented. So now they're like, well, I don't want to be an engineer. That's a nerd. Who woke up and decided that only nerds would be engineers, right? It was the media, right? It was going on the panels and seeing the pocket protector and thinking that, right? So how do we get through that? We demystify all that and say, you know what? I can be smart and still drive a Benz. And yes, these are very materialistic things, but let's be honest. Some of us like it, some of us don't. But when we are our authentic selves, we're able to minister to those that we should minister, and we shouldn't be ministering to everybody. Everybody's not going to always be your target audience. Regardless if you have a brand or not, you have a target audience. I hate to say it, but there are some people that are going to gravitate to you. So when you are yourself, you can help and pour into those people, right? And make sure that they now have a chance to look at something because they see it adequately represented to either what they want to be. So like I said, you may have to get their attention for the wrong reason, but hopefully they'll stay for the right reason.
You know, I'm going to need you to be a little more passionate with your answer.
I'm low energy. Horrible.